All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to explore a really big question. What does it actually mean to be human in a world that feels like it's being run by algorithms? And we're going to be looking at this through the eyes of a fascinating Japanese philosopher, Hiroki Azuma, who has a pretty startling take on our modern digital lives. You've probably heard some version of this before, right? The future is unknown, and it feels more true now than ever. We're living in this really unpredictable time. But here's the paradox. While the big picture feels like a total mystery, our day-to-day lives, especially online, often feel the exact opposite. They feel, well, kind of predictable, almost calculated. And that brings us to the absolute heart of what we're talking about today. In a world where AI is getting better and better at predicting what we'll do next, what we'll buy next, what we'll watch next, what part of us is getting lost in all that efficiency? What does it truly mean to be human anymore? To start answering that, we have to turn to Hiroki Azuma. He's got a diagnosis for this feeling, a term he coined called animalization. It's a really powerful idea that gets to the bottom of why, even with a million choices at our fingertips, our digital world can sometimes feel so flat and, honestly, a little boring. So what on earth is animalization? Well, Azuma says it's this state we're in where we are just constantly surrounded by things that perfectly satisfy our simplest, most basic cravings. You can think of it as a world that's been perfectly optimized to give us instant gratification, to scratch and etch the very second it appears. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Azuma draws a sharp line between two things. On one side, you've got need. These are your simple, predictable urges, the kind of stuff that data and algorithms are absolutely brilliant at spotting and feeding. You're hungry, you feel a little bored. But on the other side, you've got desire. And this is the complicated, messy, sometimes totally illogical stuff that really makes us who we are. It's the source of real creativity, real identity. And that leads us to a huge, crucial question. Our world is becoming incredible at serving our needs. The algorithm knows what you want to watch next. But in building the super efficient system, are we accidentally starving our desires? Are we trading real self-discovery and surprise for just comfort and predictability? And this isn't just about the stuff we buy or the videos we watch. Azuma says this exact same logic is totally reshaping our social lives. Let's dig into his theory on human connection and how the internet has created this massive paradox. Okay, so he basically splits our connections into two buckets. First, you have weak ties. These are the bonds that come from pure chance. Your family, the people who happen to live next door, folks you just bump into. They bring randomness into your life. Then you've got strong ties. These are built on shared interests and are constantly reinforced by algorithms. Like a super niche hobby group online. They provide comfort, for sure, but they also bring a ton of predictability and can become echo chambers. And this quote from Azuma just hits the nail on the head. He's saying that our whole system, from social media to dating apps, is basically a machine designed to filter out all those messy, accidental, weak tie connections. It's built to connect us only with people it thinks are necessary or compatible based on our data profile. So here's the bottom line. We've engineered a digital world that's all about efficiency. And in doing that, we might be accidentally filtering out the very randomness, the serendipity, the unexpected run-ins that actually enrich our lives and lead to real growth. All right, so if our world is getting more and more optimized, more and more perfect, where does that leave our messy, gloriously unpredictable humanity? Well, this is where Azuma's philosophy takes a really wild and fascinating turn. The whole promise of technology has always been about making a better world, right? A smoother, faster, more rational world. A perfect system with all that messy human error. A world without glitches. But Azuma makes us stop and ask a pretty radical question. What if that whole idea is just wrong? What if this constant push for perfection is actually taking us further away from the best parts of ourselves? What if the most deeply human things about us don't come from our logic and our precision, but from our imperfections, our mistakes, our glitches? Azuma has a special word for this, gosado. It translates to malfunction or error. His argument is that our brains are not perfect computers. They're full of biological noise, random neural firings, and tiny miscalculations. And it is right there, inside those glitches, that our humanity is born. Just think about it for a second. Pity for a total stranger. That's not a logical calculation of costs and benefits. Mercy isn't some predictable output from an algorithm. And love, well, love is definitely not an algorithm. According to Azuma, these beautiful, essential human traits are the direct result of our brain's unpredictable malfunctions. They're what separate us from a perfectly logical, perfectly efficient machine. This is the absolute core of his whole idea. That the things we cherish most about being human, our ability to feel empathy, those sudden sparks of creativity, our very sense of freedom, they aren't features to be optimized. They're actually beautiful bugs in our own biological code. So, if our humanity is found in our glitches, how in the world do we protect it in a world that's obsessed with perfection? This is where we can start to see a whole new path forward, a new way to think about how we should live our lives. Now, the big takeaway here isn't to smash your smartphone and go live in the woods. It's about consciously pushing back against the logic of the algorithm. It means actively seeking out randomness, take a different route home, get lost in a new part of town, talk to a stranger. It means truly valuing those weak ties that are born from pure chance. It means starting to see our mistakes not as failures to be stamped out, but as a fundamental part of who we are. It's really all about resisting that constant urge to live a perfectly optimized, calculated life.
And that really leaves us with one final massive question to think about. As technology and AI promise to smooth out every single rough edge and correct every error in our lives, we have to stop and ask, what essential part of ourselves are we losing in that process?
In the end, Azuma doesn't offer us some simple, easy answer. And maybe that's the point. He suggests that the purpose of philosophy, and maybe the purpose of being human, isn't to solve every problem and fix every flaw. It's to live with the mystery, to embrace the unpredictable, and to find meaning not in a fantasy of perfection, but right here, in the beautiful human glitch.